Okay, well, the book is really about how to handle your emotions. But the way I do it is I first try to explain how an emotion works. Most of the time, an emotion is just energy trying to come out of your system. It's trying to balance itself out. If you think of any system, if you think in terms of physics, every system is always trying to get to a balance, to an equilibrium. Like the cup of coffee, which is hot, it's trying to find its balance. So the temperature inside the cup is trying to balance with the temperature outside, and eventually, through the process of radiation, heat is going to come out of the tea into the air outside, and eventually the hot cup of coffee is going to be at the same temperature as the room, because the system was looking for this balance, this equilibrium. In the same way, the emotions are energy stored in our system, from the cellular tissue. I mean, it's stored everywhere, in the muscle tissue, in the cellular tissue, in our energetic body. Emotions are stored everywhere in our body. You can feel this when, for example, you are stressed out or something. When you feel stress, you can feel your muscles around your neck contracting. This is because the energy is stored in the muscles. The muscles are the first layer to receive the impact of emotions, but emotions are stored in different parts of the body. They are stored in muscles, they are stored in organs, and they are stored in tissue, cellular tissue. So most of our emotions are in our subconscious. So we're not aware of them. We are not aware of 80% of our emotions. So this is all in the subconscious, and then from time to time, as emotions build up and pressure starts to build up, they look for a way to balance themselves out. So they try to come out like the cup of coffee, like the heat that's trying to come out of the cup. The emotions are trying to come out of the body and balance themselves out. But the first thing we do is, when we feel a negative emotion, the first thing we do is we try to avoid it or repress it, because nobody likes to feel negative emotions. Everybody, the first thing we do is we try to avoid it. And there are many ways to avoid a negative emotion. You can have a drink. As soon as some negative feeling is arising in the body and it's uncomfortable, you don't like it, you immediately do a thousand. There are many things that you can do, but I'm going to say, just mention a few. You can go and drink a glass of whiskey, or you can smoke a cigarette, or you can go out and go out for a run, or you can put yourself in your office and work, or you can start producing positive thoughts, positive thinking to get rid of the emotion. There are many ways. You can take pills, you can take antidepressants, whatever. Just there are many ways to get rid of the emotion, and this really is just a temporary fix, because temporary, you can distract yourself and not feel the emotion, and then the emotion goes back inside into the subconscious, into the tissue, into wherever it was stored, and the problem was not solved. The emotion is still there, and it's going to keep building up until one day the pressure is going to be so strong that not a cigarette, not a glass of whiskey, or nothing is going to help you not feel it. It's going to blow up. And so from even from childhood, we were taught not to feel not to feel our emotions, or we were taught how to suppress them. We were given a lot of techniques on how to suppress negative emotions. One of those, which I already mentioned, is as soon as a negative emotion comes to the surface, you look for a positive thought. So positive thinking, affirmations, these sort of things aren't really helping. They are not helping with the process. So the real help comes when you, instead of avoiding the emotion and saying no to it, because really, when you say no to something, when you resist something, then suffering comes up. Suffering is suffering comes from the resistance to the event. When you resist something, there is suffering. When you resist something, it persists. So resistance creates persistence. It persists, and then suffering comes from things you wanted things to be different. When you want something to be different than what it is, then you suffer. When you resist something, you suffer. So when a negative emotion arises and you say no to it, you say, no, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to feel this. So you resist it, and you want things to be different. You don't want that emotion to be there because immediately your mind says, I shouldn't be feeling this way, I shouldn't be feeling this way. So suffering comes up and then you suffer. But if instead of that, you would take a different approach, and as soon as a negative emotion arose inside your system, as soon as you're feeling a negative emotion, instead of saying no, instead of resisting, what if you said, yes, I want to feel this. Let's see what this is. Let's take a look at this. And you completely eliminate resistance. So you say yes to it. Think about it. Just stop there for a second and say yes. Okay, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to stop this contraction and I'm going to open up and let it flow. I'm going to say yes. The feeling is about opening up and letting it flow. So you're saying yes. You think, there are people that like pain, masochists. The reason they like pain is because they say yes to pain. They do not suffer because they want the pain. That's why they don't suffer. But if there's pain and you don't want it, you're going to suffer. But suffering is not coming from the pain. It's coming from you not wanting it there. It's coming from you wanting things to be different. It's coming from you resisting to it. So as soon as you open up and say, yes, I'm going to open up and I'm going to allow this to be here, I'm going to feel it, then some interesting effect starts to happen. The emotion starts to flow out of your system, like the cup of coffee, like the heat from the cup of coffee. So when you say yes, you open up a door, okay? There are 3 doors you need to open so that the emotion flows out in the proper manner. So the first door is open when you say yes to it. So you say, yes, I want to feel this. Let's bring it on. Let's see what this is. So you open up that door and the emotion starts to flow. This is the first step or the first door. Now, the process is not complete because what you want to do is you want to open all doors so that this energy, which is just that, it's just energy. This emotion is just energy passing through, trying to come out of your system, and you can just open up the doors and it's going to go away. Maybe not in 1 day, maybe not in 5, maybe not in 1 month or in 6 months. It depends on how much negative feelings, emotions, unprocessed experience from the past, from your childhood, have been storing up in your system. Every person is different. But once you open the door to them, they're going to start flowing out of your system, and eventually they're going to be gone from your system, completely gone. So the second door you open is you detach from the emotion, you detach from it. It's simple. When I explain it, it's going to sound simple, but it takes practice. All three doors take a lot of practice, really. To master this takes a lot of practice, but once you practice this enough, it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it becomes really, really easy, very, very simple. So the second door, the second thing you need to do is you need to detach from the emotion, because people usually identify with the emotions. So, for example, if there is sadness, suddenly I'm feeling sadness, the normal thing that people do is they say, I'm sad. The moment you say, I am sad, then you get attached to that energy, to that emotion, and you are sad. But what happens if instead of saying, I am sad, you say, I am feeling sadness? So you take a step back as if you were a witness, and you're observing, you're watching this energy from one step behind. You're not identified with it anymore. So instead of saying I am sad, you say, oh, I am feeling sadness. And first door you said yes, so you're letting it be there. You're saying yes to sadness, so you're feeling the sadness. And then the second door is, I'm feeling sadness. I am not sad. I am not that sadness. You need to understand, you are not that sadness. That sadness is just an energy. If you look at it from this point of view, from the witness, from one step behind, from detachment, then the energy has its second door open, and it starts to flow out of your system, Now, there's a third thing that happens, which is the third door, and it has to do with thoughts. Now, as soon as a negative emotion arises, immediately your mind labels it with something, or tries to say, oh, well, this sadness is because my friend stood me up, or my girlfriend broke up with me, and this is why I'm feeling sad. And then the mind justifies the sadness. It gives you a story, and the mind tells you why you are feeling that sadness. So, and you can get lost in that dialogue, and it just keeps the third door closed, and then it probably is going to take you somewhere you don't like, because that mind is going to take you to another story, and then another story. And if you follow that line, that thread, that's not going to be good. So what you want to do is you cut the dialogue. You immediately cut the dialogue, and so what happens? The sadness comes up. First door, you say yes. Okay, let's feel it. I'm going to allow this. Second door, you say, I'm feeling sadness. I am not this sadness. I am not sad. I'm just feeling some sadness, some energy. I'm going to feel it. I am not that. And then the third door, as soon as the mind wants to tell you why you're sad, why what your mother did to you or whatever, you cut it. You just silence it. You say, no, that's not the reason. It's not because my mom. It's not because my mother. It's not because my girlfriend broke up with me. No. This is just an energy that's trying to come out. It's sadness, yeah, but I'm not going to label it, and I'm not going to assign any story or any person to it. I'm just going to let it be as it is. No stories, no labels. And that opens the third door. And when you do that, the three doors are open, and then the emotion starts to flow out. And the way you make it flow out is you just observe it, just watch it, just be with it, feel it. But as you feel it, you remember these three steps as you're feeling it. Remember the three steps as you're feeling it. And now, this is something that I'm just telling you right now real quick. I wrote a whole book about this. It's 100 pages long, so there's a lot of information. This is just a brief summary, but it's very brief. There are still more things that you need to understand about this process, but this is a powerful process, because it's going to help you get rid of those negative emotions, of those burdens you've been carrying in your subconscious mind that you didn't know you had. A lot of people know they have some strong negative emotions in the form of energy that they're carrying with them. And a lot of people don't know. A lot of people say, I am okay. I don't need to get rid of any emotions. My life is okay. But they feel okay because they've been carrying this for many years. But if I take the load off them, they're going to feel, oh, the difference. If you've been carrying a backpack on your back for 35 years, and I can tell you, well, you're carrying a backpack, and you're going to tell me, no, I'm not carrying a backpack. You don't notice it because you've been carrying it for 35 years. But if I take the backpack off your back, then you're going to feel, oof, the relief. And this is more or less what happens when you start getting rid of these emotions. So this is just a brief summary of that. The benefits, well, there are many benefits, starting with your health. You know that psychosomatic medicine tells you that many people that get sick because they are carrying a lot of emotions, unresolved emotions. So a grudge that has been there for 35 years can become an illness, and stress eventually becomes an illness, and unresolved emotions eventually become an illness. Many illnesses are just symptoms. They are not the disease, they are not the illness itself, they are not the cause, they are the symptom. The real cause lies behind in some unprocessed negative emotion that you have been carrying for a long time. So the first benefit comes to impact directly on your health, and then the way you look at the world is clouded by this energy, by these emotions that you carry with you in your subconscious mind. So you look at the world through this lens of negative emotion. You're not aware of that, of course, but your behavior, your relationships, the way you react to events, the way you react to things are related to how much negative emotion you're carrying with you. It becomes like the lens through which you look at reality. So once you get rid of these negative charges, negative emotions, you start to look at the world in a different way. You start to feel lighter, you start to see things more positive, you don't react to things, because there's no charge there that, emotions can cloud you. And then when you're clouded by emotions, you can act in ways that after what you did, you go back and say, how could I have done that? Well, it wasn't you, it was you being blinded by these emotions. So as you get rid of this, your life starts to change in different ways. Your relationships start to change, you get more clarity, you don't react to things. You get more creative, you get lighter, you get happier. And then, there's a long list of benefits, but one of the benefits that eventually comes to be the main purpose, the main goal for doing this work is that as you clear these energies, imagine that you are clearing away the blocks that do not allow you to see your true essence. So you are clouded by these emotions, you are attached to them, but as soon as you start doing this work, these emotions start to clear, and it's like the clouds, they start to dissipate, and then you start to see the sun, the light that was behind the clouds. So when you start doing this, a thing starts to happen. You begin to get in touch with your essence, with your true self. And this is topic for another talk, because this is truly important, truly transcendental. This becomes a spiritual work. If you understand what I'm talking about, this process of emotions, of releasing emotions, is going to take you on a spiritual path of awakening. But that is like, let's save that for the last. As a first step, the benefits for people are on their health, on their relationships, on their life overall. Their life becomes better. We're looking for wellness. This is what happens when you start doing this work. Wellness. This is what we are going to focus on as the first step. And then, if you understand this, and you do this, you take this practice as something that you're going to practice for the rest of your life, and you take it seriously, then you can be ready to use this practice as a spiritual path. And it's going to take you to get in contact with your true essence. It's going to help you remove the clouds that are blocking your awareness to your true self's presence.